founding father without a father. Got a lot farther by working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter.
To your union and the hope that you provide, may you always be satisfied.
This is Hamilton.
Hamilton. Hamilton is a biography drama and history musical about the real life of one of America's founding fathers and first Secretary of the Treasury. Alexander Hamilton captured live on Broadway from Richard Rodgers Theatre with the original Broadway cast, written by Lin-Manuel Miranda and inspired by the book Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernov, and directed by Thomas Kell, starring Lin-Manuel Miranda as Alexander Hamilton and Leslie Odom Jr. as Aaron Bur. And just before we jump into this review, make sure you're subscribed with your bell notifications turned on so you do not miss any of my future posts in the near future. Now, I want to start off by saying that recently, my relationship with Disney has not been one where, for example, recently on the channel I reviewed Frozen, and that movie just did not resonate with me whatsoever. So, on a particular sense of things, I have not been on any wavelength with Disney as of recently. But this show has completely won me over. It's brilliant. Everything. The acting, the performances, the cinematography, it's all great. And going into it, I wasn't expecting it to be the marvel that it was. I didn't, I feel like when you're always trying to create something that is great, or maybe that is a masterpiece, it's always a tall order, because you're always having to think about, well, how am I going to make these characters three-dimensional? How am I going to create first-person ideologies? How am I going to do great character development in moments where these characters are going to be really likable at the point of a decision, and these characters are going to be really unlikable at the point of a decision. And it's always creating a story, for me anyway, or looking at stories, is always a game of chess, and Hamilton gets that quite well. And what I love about Hamilton is that it does not take too long to jump into the thought process and the first person ideology of Hamilton, and it's all done within the first song called My Shot, and which is a combination of third person and a combination of actually reenacting on stage, which is the first person. And I thought that song in general done a great job of meshing the two together. And I think as well with Hamilton, there's this great theme of satisfaction, and where do we draw the line in the sand with that, and when is it ever enough, and that coming from a Disney film, that's a lot, because I don't feel, as of recently anyway, I don't feel as if we're touching upon these darker type of tones that ultimately at some point a kid is going to grow into a man and they need to know about these things. And, and that was all really heavy. And I think as well with Hamilton as a character, because he's such a flawed individual, and he's essentially an immigrant that's come from nothing into something. It's almost like as if he's always pushing the envelope. But as we all know, too much of anything is bad, in a sense. And he keeps pushing himself when he's stuck on the inside, but he's not on the outside looking in at his actions, and I just love that, and I think with these characters, I think a lot of people can see themselves in the characters that are being portrayed on stage, and which leads me to my next point. I mean, Aaron Bur, played by Leslie Odom Jr. I mean, this character is like the second coming of General Zod or Thanos. I mean, and it's such a sad story because essentially most of these characters all kind of start off friends, and then they fight in the Revolutionary War, and then they become lawyers and get into politics. They're so similar, especially Alexander and Burr. Essentially they are the same person, but they are on opposite ends of the coin. In certain ways, they kind of remind me of like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. Well, they had a better relationship, but if you've watched those movies, you would definitely be able to see those similarities there. And yeah, Leslie Odom Jr., he gave a fucking amazing performance as Aaron Burr. And also, I was very happy to see Jonathan Groff back in the mix. Well, do it in the musical. If you know Jonathan Groff from his work on Mindhunter as Detective Holden, and it's nice to see that him doing his thing, with as King George with projectile spit flying out of his mouth. I mean, that is. I gotta tell you something, man. That's quite heavy on the eyes when you watch it in 4K. I'll just tell you that. And yeah, just general moments that I loved. I loved the song Satisfied. The flow went into this crazy hip hop, kind of on the same verges of what Beyonce or Nicki Minaj does. And I thought the actress, and she blew it out of the water. When she started rapping, like, I was like, whoa, like, just amazing. And another song that I just absolutely just love, it resonates with me, it's resounding, it's pulverizing, is Wait For It. And that is just amazing. And I think as well, it talks about Aaron Burr's internal fears. I think and this is why I say that I think a lot of people can see themselves within these characters, is that, we all want great things, but then I always believe there is that paranoia, and there always is this doubt that, what if it doesn't work? So we wait. We naturally think to ourselves, if I keep being a good person, then good things will come to me. But in his circumstances, that's the completely opposite. Things are not going his way because he's waiting, And I love the themes of the song and the way it sounds, and it's almost like the echoes in the background, the wait for it, wait. Like, it kind of, because Aaron Bur is a flawed person. He's lost loved ones in his life, and it's almost like the ancestors, the souls that are talking to him, the whispers, and that ultimately are haunting him from doing what he wants to do, to be president for the Democratic Party, So just the themes are all on point. And like I said, Burr and Alexander, they're the same people. They are flawed, but one is being a extrovert and one is being an introvert, and all by a form of a series of events that all finds a way to be flipped on its head. I also think the way that the show is edited and the cinematography that comes about in the show is all done really well. You could specifically tell that the live performances, the ones where the crowds were involved, you could tell that they use kind of wider shots, kind of, you know, going into the audience. And whereas when the audience wasn't there, that's when they utilized the cinematography and had a camera there with one shots and stuff like that. But in the way that it's all edited and the cinematography is done, you know, I like the fact that we had the audiences in the wider shots, because it still felt like a theatre production, you know, and ultimately, had it all been cinematography with one shots and different camera angles, then it would have not had. It wouldn't be Hamilton, wouldn't it? You know, and another thing as well that, like I keep saying in all of my reviews, is that I'm always looking for the first person energy. I'm always looking for, you know, what is ultimately the decision that makes them the person they are today. And what we saw within Hamilton was that we got to see straight away everything that happened with Hamilton right off the bat, with a meshing of third person, first person. But what I found interesting was that when we got to Aaron Bur, that wasn't the same thing that was utilized. We got the songs being told in his backstory. And I've kind of noticed, if you know how to do it and you know how to pull it off, you can get away with it with third person. It's just about the thing of how is it done, and more so with musical theatre, because you're singing and that's the whole panache of what audiences are coming to witness. It can be portrayed and done well, you know. And that was something that I realised when watching Hamilton. But guys, I will definitely say this. I think that this is simply, well, before I go simply amazing, I did spot one thing. But given the state of what was happening in America at the time, it all made sense when I wrapped my head around it. So let me fast forward about it being amazing. Just by the ensemble, the dancing. I mean, this show really did make me miss theatre a lot. Now it's making me reconsider some things. But I'll say this, Hamilton is a masterpiece. And it gets a 10 out of 10. And then Manuel Miranda, you, sir, are a genius. Guys, thank you for watching. Click here if you want to see more. In the description, I will put my review for Frozen, so you can get my thoughts of what kind of contrived mess of a film that was to me. So yeah, leave your comments down below. What was your favourite song within Hamilton? Yeah, what was your favourite song, your favourite performance, all the things you loved about Hamilton. As always, I'm always in my comments 24/7. Drop me a message and I will be there. Guys, thank you for tuning in for this review. It means a lot. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video with your friends, your Hamilton friends. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.